Hey everybody, hope you're all doing well. My name is Steven, and this is the Storytime channel. Today we have some pro-revenge stories, and our first story of the day is by Sniddle23, Besting a Travel Insurer. In 2013, my dad passed away while my brother and I were on our own independent international adventures. I was in Spain and my brother was in Canada, and we needed to get back to Australia. My travel insurance was dodgy but eventually paid out after a few complaints, which is pretty standard practice. My brother tried to claim $9,000. He could only get one emergency seat on a bunch of connecting flights, and with that and his flight back after the funeral, etc., and other cancellations, it all added up. Shock horror, his claim was rejected. Back then, there wasn't an industry body that dealt with travel insurance companies, or if there was, we had no idea what it was. So my bro went through the usual hurdles involved with the appeals and complaints process. Eventually, they told him that his claim for $9,326 was rejected and their determination was final. So back then, companies didn't really have Twitter handles, especially not insurance companies, so my bro, Ever the Troll, created a Twitter handle in this insurance company's name, complete with their official logo. He quickly set about gaining thousands of followers and legitimately began answering their questions with truthful, albeit quite negative responses. Things like, "My daughter and I want to travel to Paris. What insurance cover would you recommend?" Answer: "We would recommend you take the premium for our comprehensive cover and burn it. We don't like to pay out on for any insurable event because it upsets our shareholders. Have fun in Paris," etc., etc. The insurance company got wind of this and sent him a cease and desist letter. My brother counteroffered with a contract for the company to purchase the Twitter account and 2,500 potential customers for the very reasonable price of $9,326. They agreed. Well, I'm not saying holding a brand's online identity hostage is the right thing to do, but sometimes things have to be done. If you felt personally disrespected by a company, would you be willing to masquerade around as them online and do some kind of attempt at hitting them right in their reputation? Let me know in the comments down below. Our next story is by Valiant Freak, Steal My Desk? Be annoyed for 30 seconds every day. In my last year of my industrial design degree, I scored a paid contract at the Australian Government Scientific Organization. Although it was only in 2 to 3 days per week, I was shown into a large empty office and told I could base myself there. The office was normally used for students, but as I was the only one on this project, I had the whole office to myself with about 6 desks. Naturally, the first task is to find the best desk and put it into the best position. Since I was going to be there for a while, I stuck some posters of my project on the wall behind my desk and even brought in some retro decor from home to add a little personality to my part of the boring brick cavern. All went well for a couple of weeks until a few other students moved into the room. Although our paths rarely crossed as they were working on other projects, 2 of them were perfectly reasonable and set themselves up on other desks. The third, who I will call Jerkwad because that is probably his name, decided he liked my desk. I should point out that all the desks were the same and mine had no better a view than anyone else's. Mine had my stationery on it, my posters on the wall around it, a clock, a telephone, all were mine. In fact, the telephone wasn't even plugged in. I just brought it in because it was an Erica phone and they look cool. So one day I come in and Jerkwad is sitting at my desk while the other students were at their desks. My stuff was packed up and pushed to one side to make room for his stuff. I make some comment about it being my desk and his response was, "Yeah, I won't be here for long," or some other blow-off. To pursue it further would have made me look really petty in front of the others since all the other desks were the same. I set myself up at another desk that day. Although over the next few days I could tell my stuff had been moved around, and unless I got to the building by a certain time, he would steal my desk again. Unfortunately for Jerkwad, one of the things I brought from home was a talking wizard talking calculator clock. It was a cheap gimmicky thing like you would see at the markets, basically a black plastic box with a button. When you pressed the button, it would say, "It is 9:05 a.m." When you opened the box, there was a calculator, and when you pressed each button, it would say the number and read out the answer. Unluckily for Jerkwad, the clock also had an alarm. When you set it, it would say beep beep beep, it is 9:05 a.m., beep beep beep, it is 9:05 a.m., and would keep repeating this for 30 seconds very loudly. I set the alarm to go off mid-morning, put it in my desk drawer, and locked it. For extra pettiness, I also changed it to the wrong time. They were sturdy desks, 1940s era, made from silky oak with inlaid green vinyl tops. It is not possible to dismantle them or open them with a different key. I then took the key home and didn't come back for another 3 working days. When I returned, I sat at my desk, opened the drawer, and turned the clock off before it could go off. When Jerkwad came in, he saw me and said, "Can you turn that bloody clock off? There's something locked in the desk, and it scares the crap out of me every day and won't shut up." I was about to smash the freaking desk apart with an axe. I said something snarky like, "Sorry, it does sometimes go off when other people sit at my desk." He never stole my desk again. I don't even understand why Jerkwad was so insistent on sitting at OP's desk specifically. It sounds like they were just trying to upset OP or do some kind of macho alpha male stuff at some point. Why make all the extra work for yourself having to move OP stuff around every single time? Just use one of the other 3 or 4 empty desks. Our next story is by Ragnars85. Do you Ouija want to mess with me? I'm a middle child with an older sister and younger brother. As with most siblings, my older sister was always giving us crap, getting us to do stuff we didn't want to do, the usual. One time, my sister got into her head that she wanted to try the Ouija board and tried convincing me and my brother to do it with her. No thanks, and my brother was terrified at the thought. Anyway, she went on and on about it until one night she was babysitting us. She called us up to her room, and there it was, all set up. We reluctantly agreed to give it a go, even though I could see my brother shaking. My sister decided she wanted candles to make it more authentic. When she left the room, the thought came to my head when I looked at her clock radio. I told my brother my plan and told him to play along. Sis came back, lit the candles, and got us to sit around the board. We put our fingers on the glass, and just as she had finished asking, "Does anyone want to make contact?" the radio came blasting on at full volume. She ran out of the room screaming and crying. We followed her to play along, but ended up telling her shortly after as she was hysterical. She didn't want to play the Ouija board again though. I guess they got a taste of how much they wouldn't like it if there actually was something out there. To be fair, it would be pretty terrifying. This story kind of reminds me of the classic Vine, where there's a girl sleepover playing with a Ouija board in the other room and the brother goes and turns off the circuit breaker, and all you hear is just a bunch of screams. This next story is by What1234. Call me lazy girl while you skip off to drink? I'll make you suffer for it. So this happened a few years ago on a relatively large project. We were building a 4-level house from the ground up. At the time, I was 23 working with my dad, the boss, and my stepmom's cousin, who, as dubbed in a previous post, is Max. Max is an older gentleman in his 50s who is, for a lack of better word, gross. He is the type of person to knock something over that injures you and laughs and tells you to be more careful next time. Needless to say, he doesn't think I, 23, female at the time, can do what he can. So he likes referring to me as girl. Now on to the main part of the story. We had just gotten joists and trusses for the top 2 levels and the roof. It is also 6 p.m., also known as the universal quitting time for construction workers, unless you work for my dad. Max, who has been working with us long enough to know we don't quit until after we've cleaned up, has vanished. Dad looks around. "Where's Max?" I shrug. "Go inside and get him." We live just down the street from this job. So I go and find Max sitting on the couch and his dirty, sweaty clothes and beer in his hand, half gone. "Done already, lazy girl?" This is a new one and I'm pissed. Dad says we aren't done. He grumbles but downs the rest of his beer and follows me out. We get back and my dad is already moving some of the joists into place and orders me and Max to bring the rest. Sourly, I do as asked and grab one. Max messes around and makes comments about me under his breath. "Come on, lazy girl." This one he says loud enough for everyone to hear as if I was a sled dog. I think, lovely. Dear readers, cue my petty revenge. I grab one end and do a shuffling walk, thinking at most I'll bang his knee. Painful, but no lasting harm. I hear that sound that I'm pretty sure every guy knows as a gasp, wheeze, or pained cry. I turned around to look. Max is standing directly behind the joist, holding squarely in front of his junk, looking like he wants to vomit. I may have done it a couple more times. I was not called a lazy girl again. Before anyone defends him and tells me I'm awful, let me tell you he knows he is supposed to carry these on his side. Also, he never once changed positions over the dozen different ones we moved. He simply wanted me to carry more weight. Now, I'm not saying that you should go and hit the guy in his junk multiple times for treating you like crap, but sometimes you gotta hit a guy in the junk a couple times for treating you like crap. And considering he was the kind of person that injures you and laughs and tells you to be careful, it's the perfect time to tell Max that he should be careful too. And our final story of the day is by Magpies for Vega. Don't mess with my lunch break. My boss, Mark, is the type of guy who will send an email asking one of my team to do a task, then get up as soon as he sends it and walk to the recipient's desk to ask them to do the thing in the email. It feels very micromanaging and it's incredibly annoying. Also, another coworker and I were allowed to work from home since November due to health reasons. But we were arbitrarily called back into the office last week, and I'm still a little bitter about it. It's still pretty wintry here, and we don't have a break room, so I had to eat lunch at my desk yesterday. When I do this, I lock my computer screen so I don't have to look at work for half an hour. I also put in earbuds and have my book out, so it's very obvious that I'm off the clock. Yesterday, in the middle of my break, Mark came over to ask me to answer an email that he'd forwarded to me. This email was addressed to me with him copied on it, and it had been sent less than 5 minutes before. We have a policy where we have to answer emails within 4 hours, so I was well within this limit. He started talking to me, so I made eye contact, put down the food I was in the process of eating, pulled out my earbuds, and said, "Mark, I'm at lunch. My computer isn't on, and I'll take care of the email when I log back in." He dithered around for a minute before spending the next 5 minutes explaining what the email was. My break ended, and I opened the email to answer it. A few minutes later, Mark walked out of his office on the way to the bathroom. I called over to him as he was walking out and asked him a question that absolutely could have waited until he was back. But instead, he has to spend the next 5 minutes explaining a task. Take up my 1/2-hour break? I will absolutely make you wait to go to the bathroom. Personally, I don't really blame Mark for wanting to go and ask people directly, especially because with the 4-hour rule, that probably lets the procrastinators of the world take plenty of time to email you back, and I could very well see how that could get frustrating very quickly. That said, at the same time, fair is fair. If Mark is personally going to people within 5 minutes of sending the email, especially people not even on the clock at that point, they need to be able to take it as much as they dish it. So I'm sorry that you wanted to go use the bathroom, Mark, but you gotta help out and explain an email thing. On the plus side, it doesn't seem like Mark had an overly negative reaction to it, or else I would assume OP would have included that. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. So if you have a favorite story of the day, let me know which story and why in the comments down below. But besides that, if you enjoyed the video, please consider giving it a like, and if you haven't, subscribe and turn notifications on so you'll never miss an upcoming video. No matter what you do, whether it's just viewing the video, liking, subscribing, turning notifications on, I appreciate the heck out of it. Every little thing that you do helps the channel grow that much more, and I can't thank you enough for it. So until next time, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll be right here next time on the Storytime channel.